Hi everybody, this is Traci Cornelius. Welcome to part 2 of week 29 of the pregnancy. Now I've done this in 2 parts because mainly we kind of fit into 2 camps when we are pregnant, especially if this is your first baby. There are those that want to know limited information but don't really want to know all the complete ins and outs, and fair play. And then there are those of us, for the reasons of making sure that they don't panic and overthink things and all that type of thing. And then there are those that would like to know everything so they feel like they're completely prepared if that happens to them. Hence why I'm doing part 2. So first thing I need to explain is that pregnancy is different for every single person. There is no one size fits all. There is no you are guaranteed to have this particular symptom and you'll have it in this way. It just doesn't work that way. We're all very different. Our bodies are different. Our babies are different. Our pregnancies are different. So the parts that I wanted to mention this week. Obviously, I did touch on part 1 on the nausea. I'm kind of feeling like I've gone back to the first 12 weeks where I'm like pretty much going through morning sickness. From this time onwards in your pregnancy, it's also quite common to have sickness due to stomach acid. When the baby is moving up, obviously it's pushing all the stomach acid up. So eating little and often is a very good thing to do. And maybe changing certain parts of your diet you'll also find easier, because heartburn also becomes an issue. So trying to reduce that means that you might want to avoid certain foods. Now the other parts. Okay. Your baby at this stage is getting a lot bigger, a lot heavier. What they're also doing is they're putting a lot of pressure on different veins and everything within the body. So that's why you will have things like varicose veins, which have started to come up on my leg. The other thing that will happen is hemorrhoids, also known as piles. It's a really horrible part. Nobody really likes talking about it. Nobody likes experiencing it. It's awful. I have unfortunately suffered with that every single pregnancy. My last 2 pregnancies, it has been so painful that I've been reduced to tears on so many occasions. And in fact, even thinking about it just already makes me well up. It's just so painful. Unfortunately, because I've had it, it then kind of flares up again. And obviously that seems to have made it worse throughout every pregnancy. So creams don't really affect me, even the ones that I get from the doctor, which is like a higher concentration. Sitting on ice is one of the things that they suggest. That will ease the pain to a certain extent. More of one of those type of things that we're diverting the pain factor onto something else to concentrate on. You can sit in the bath. Sometimes warm water can help. If yours don't get as pronounced as mine happen to be, especially with Alina, then sitting down is absolutely fine. I couldn't sit. I'd have to sit kind of at the side. So too much information coming up, and those that don't want to know the complete truth, switch off now. But mine were about this big. No kidding. And there's more than one. And they get almost solid. So that's why it's ridiculously painful. At this stage, at week 29, they've already flared up. So I'm already going to book an appointment with the doctor to see if there's something that I can do to try and reduce the factor of it then getting a lot worse later on. Because I know if it's any worse than Alina, I genuinely will not be able to cope with that very well whatsoever. You can't even walk properly. It's that painful. The other issue that you have if they get that severe is the risk of them bursting or anything else like that. So I do need to look for a solution now before it gets a lot worse. And the one thing that I will say about this, actually it happens to so many people. It's a very, very common part of pregnancy. It's just a part that many people don't like talking about because it's embarrassing and, you know, all the rest of it. Do not be afraid to get help, and try and do it as early on as possible, because it's one of those aspects that's not going to go away. Unlike when you suffer from hemorrhoids, when you're not pregnant, cream will help to shrink them, and, you know, happy days. You've got a baby. A baby is what's putting the pressure on all of those veins and causing the blood vessels, you know, to do different things than they would normally do. Your baby isn't going to suddenly move position or anything else to alleviate that amount of pressure, because your baby is growing. So therefore, it doesn't alleviate. In fact, because your baby is getting bigger, it can often get a lot worse, which is why I'm saying try to get help early on as possible. One of the aspects that I have discovered which has really helped me, and it was advice from my midwife when I was pregnant with Grace, and that's to get a glove. It can be one of the rubber gloves, silicone gloves, whatever. Fill it with water, tie it at the end, put it into the freezer. When it's completely solid, break off one of the fingers, and then you can lie that in between your butt cheeks. I know it's so gross, this kind of subject. However, it will help to be able to do that, because obviously ice packs and things like that don't tend to be very small, and you don't want frozen buttocks as well. So that was something that definitely did help, like I mentioned. Also make sure that you do go and see your doctor, because normal over-the-counter hemorrhoid creams may not be sufficient enough for you. Now, there is one other aspect that I would like to mention for this particular week, which again is something that not many people mention, and that's leaky breasts. Now, I experienced this with my very first pregnancy with Kaisha, my 18-year-old. And not really with the others. However, it's still very, very common. At this stage, your body is already producing colostrum, which is the first milk that the baby's going to drink. And for a lot of people, that can be excreted at any time of the day, no warning. I remember standing in a queue. This was for a carvery. I was due to go out. We had all the family there. And I had on, because it was during summer when I was pregnant with Kaisha, and I had on this little strappy blue dress that had these really bright yellow flowers. It was a very pretty dress. And anyway, I kind of looked down and I thought, oh, I don't remember there being dark blue spots. And then I suddenly realised they weren't. I'd literally got complete rings around the bust area where both had been leaking. I was so embarrassed. The other reason I'm mentioning this, because colostrum, when it dries, goes hard. So not only are you going to have the issue with your clothes being wet while the milk is, when it's just come out, but also it will harden, so therefore discolouring the clothes and also changing the texture. It can be easily rectified. If you're beginning to find that you are leaking, just use a couple of breast pads. If you happen to be out and about, tissue paper, absolutely fine. However, with tissue paper, there is no backing, so obviously it can seep right the way through. When you are using a breast pad, it has like a waterproof backing, so therefore won't actually leak through. So I hope you found those tips really helpful. There's so many awesome things about pregnancy, and there's so many things to enjoy, but I do think it's very important to also address the parts that are uncomfortable, because not many people talk about them, and we all tend to suffer in silence, and that's not a great place to be either. So yeah, so I hope you found it helpful, and I will catch up with you again next week. All right, take care, bye.